Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are taking a highly focused, deep dive into the fourth pillar of this organizational framework, the International Business Assembly. Now, since you're already familiar with the basics, state assemblies, the distinct roles of state nationals versus state citizens, and how the General Assembly, Jural Assembly, and militia operate, we're going to skip the intro stuff and jump straight into the deep end. Let's explore exactly how the business side of this entire framework actually works. To help us map this out, our agenda today covers 6 key areas. 1. What the IBA actually is. 2. Who participates. 3. Its specific business functions. 4. How it relates to those other pillars. 5. Some real-world examples of its business. And 6. A quick summary to wrap it all up. Okay, so let's kick things off with the most fundamental question presented by the source material. Why do we even need a specialized assembly just for business? I mean, why not just handle the whole shebang inside the General Assembly? Well, the documents argue that separating out these specialized business functions is absolutely essential. It provides the intense focus and tight security you really need when you're dealing with public resources and outside entities.
Section 1. What is the IBA? Defining the business pillar.
So the source documents define the IBA as the specific body responsible for managing interactions between states. And remember, in this system, states are essentially viewed as independent nation-states. But it doesn't just stop at the borders. It's also responsible for overseeing the daily internal infrastructure and the day-to-day business within the state itself. And here is a really fascinating operational rule from the framework. The IBA actually only convenes when necessary. It is definitely not in constant session. Instead, it sets up what's called the state-of-state organization. You can think of this organization as a dedicated manager that basically minds the store while the assembly is out of session. It makes sure daily business keeps ticking along smoothly without forcing the entire assembly to gather for every single minor administrative hiccup. Section 2. Who participates? The rules of membership. Now here's where it gets interesting, because there is a very strict and purposeful contrast in who gets to do what. While state nationals provide incredibly valuable research, talent, and crucial input, which the Assembly heavily relies on, they don't actually hold voting power here. Only state citizens have the legal standing to hold office, formalize contracts, and officially vote on international and interstate business. So why this strict division, right? Well, the text insists that those making these heavy-hitting business decisions for the state must have an extra added devotion. State citizens literally have to maintain clean hands and a singular allegiance to the state. The ultimate goal here is to ensure there are absolutely zero conflicts of interest, no compromised relationships with foreign governments, and no undue influence from massive outside corporations or vendors. Section 3. Business functions and responsibilities. Minding the store. When it comes to actually setting up the IBA's functions, it follows a very specific protocol. Instruct the assembly, keep it honest, and determine and prioritize the issues. And let me tell you, depending on the size of the state, this can be a massive undertaking. Every single state requires a really careful audit of its resources, like, say, checking the status of its arable land, just to figure out exactly what needs fixing and what needs developing. But wait, this doesn't just happen up at the state level. At the local level, you've got the county IBA. Its job is to essentially mind the county store. It oversees local infrastructure projects and acts as a direct protective liaison to the state IBA, making sure the people's voices are actually heard. Crucially, the documents explicitly point out the counties are deliberately isolated from direct international affairs. It's a built-in protective measure, ensuring foreign interests can't just swoop in and pick off individual counties one by one. Section 4. Relationship to the other pillars. How the assembly integrates. The source material actually highlights what it calls a disturbing confusion that we need to clear up right now. The ISMA is an independent subset assembly. It is not, I repeat, not merely a standing committee. While it absolutely reports back to the General Assembly, it represents a special purpose body that's given substantial latitude to take real action within its own business-focused sphere. Furthermore, within this entire system, leadership relies purely on functional authority, not positional authority. So what does that actually mean for us? It means an elected chairman acts simply as a spokesperson. They don't magically become some ruler who can just arbitrarily disqualify eligible members. No way. Their job is strictly to facilitate the function of the assembly and protect the individual rights of every member without hoarding special powers for themselves. And to maintain order and fairness right alongside the General Assembly and militia, the IBA utilizes completely neutral meeting moderators. The moderator's job is pretty straightforward: open and close the meetings, ensure the agenda is neutrally followed, and assist the marshal at arms in enforcing boundaries. They do this without ever interjecting their own personal opinions. It's purely about guiding the discussion and keeping the business assembly on track.
Section 5. Examples of assembly business. Real-world applications.
Let's make this concrete and look at what they actually do. The assembly focuses heavily on investing public resources and managing large capital projects. We're talking about negotiating shared fishing rights between states, land reclamation, driving multi-state tourism, and even tackling massive environmental cleanups or building brand new railroad connections. It is highly practical, boots-on-the-ground infrastructure work. It really goes to show that international business is often way more about solid waste management than glamorous treaties.
However, because these public works involve some seriously massive budgets, the documents warn that the IBA can easily become a prime target for crime and fraud. To combat this, the General Assembly steps in to help the IBA set incredibly strict decision protocols. For instance, they might implement a strict preference for in-state contractors over out-of-state ones. And making sure that meeting minutes are fully transparent and available to everyone goes a long way in maintaining those necessary clean hands.
Section 6. Summary. Key takeaways. Okay, let's do a quick recap of the whole shebang. The framework dictates that the IBA is a highly specialized autonomous assembly. Again, totally not a committee. It's powered exclusively by the voting and contracting authority of state citizens who maintain a singular, unwavering allegiance. Their core objective: managing complex interstate contracts and internal state infrastructure securely, all while county IBAs act as protective, localized liaisons. Ultimately, this whole structure is about creating a hyper-secure, conflict-free environment to manage the public wealth and infrastructure of the state. Knowing how this specific framework aims to protect and build upon public resources, how might a localized, strictly loyal structure like this change the way your own community's infrastructure is managed? Because at the end of the day, the International Business Assembly focuses on the interstate and international business responsibilities of the Assembly and complements the work of the other three pillars.